readers,
reviewers,
countrymen,
lend us your ears. Welcome back to the Brothers Gwynne channel. Today we will be doing a Q&A in our celebration of reaching 1,000 subscribers.
Yeah, thank you to everyone. We're so happy, so amazed that we've actually got 1,000 subscribers out there. 1,200 people now listening to us natter on about books and all sorts. So thank you very much, guys. It's a great community that we are a part of now, and we're very, very grateful.
Question 1 is from Stuart, and he said that he's noticed that Ed wears a lot of hats, and he asked, does Ed ever go hatless? And does he have a favourite hat?
Good question, Stuart. Thank you. Listen, Dad's going bald. It's inevitable. It's going to happen to me. I'm getting used to wearing hats now. You know, just
it'd be me in a few years.
One day I'll be a proud shaven-head man, but right now, while I can't even grow a beard, it's just not working for me. I did shave my head once, and I look like a chipmunk, and that being a chipmunk is not a good look. I do have a favourite hat. It is my nice wide-brimmed cowboy hat. There's an amazing store in London called Thomas Farthing, and they sell the most amazing vintage clothes, vintage styles, and their hats. They are hatters in Sevilla. In Spain, and they've been making these hats since the early 20th century, so it's got a lot of history to it. Yeah, and it's a really nice store in London. And on question 2, so from James, thank you very much, James, for the question. He said, hi guys, well done on the 1k subscribers, thank you. Well deserved, one of the best channels out there. It's very kind of you, James, thank you very much. I'll pay you later. My question for your Q&A is, if you decide to do one, what movies and TV shows do you like to watch, and do you play Magic the Gathering?
Wow, I've not heard of Magic the Gathering actually.
Me neither.
So that'd be a no. I'd be interested to see what that is.
Yeah, I'm going to go look that up ASAP.
Films and TV shows, that's quite hard. We love Last Kingdom, don't we? We're a bit disappointed with the 4th season, but it's just great overall. You can't beat Uhtred, can you? I think I'll always harken back to one of the first programmes I loved was Merlin, Onward, the BBC programme.
He more than
loved it.
Yeah.
And I still do. It will go with me forever. You just can't beat
with the lovely yellow eyes.
There's many more.
That's just what I remember from
it. There's
many
more other things.
And John Hurt. Oh, John Hurt's
awesome, isn't he?
Yeah, what I really like the HBO Rome. I think Mark Antony, James Purefoy, is one of the greatest characters of all time. I absolutely love Rome. Our favourite TV programme is probably This Is England, isn't it?
Oh my, that is
which
amazing.
Is just beautifully directed. It's heartbreaking, but it's amazing about kind of a group of teenagers growing up starts off in the 80s and go through to the 90s, and it's just wonderful filmmaking.
See how they react to like the turmoils of the country at the time, and as they get older, how some mature and the problems they face. It is some of the best characterisation in any programme ever, and the acting is just outstanding.
Yeah, I mean, I'm talking about films. Obviously, we love the classics like Lord of the Rings. That was I remember actually going to see The Two Towers at the cinema the day William was born. I was like, this is the best day ever. Mum and Dad probably letting me in for, just saying, go have a good morning, and then in the afternoon your whole world's going to change. My world changed in the morning in the end.
In a good way?
So yeah, in a very good way. So I love Lord of the Rings. I also love The Revenant. That's one of my favourite films ever. I watched that quite recently. And what TV show we're watching at the moment? The Crown. We're watching The Crown at the moment, which is quite fun.
It is actually really good.
Yeah.
And our next question is from S.J. Howard, and it's along the Western theme that we were talking a bit about before with the hats. He said, do you love The Magnificent Seven as much as your dad? Well,
yes.
Yeah.
That is one of the best films ever, isn't it?
I think
Yul Brynner.
So great, isn't it?
Yeah, it's just so good. All the characters in that.
Yeah, I think Dad took it upon himself that this was his duty to spread the love of Magnificent Seven and other westerns, and we've certainly taken that on. I mean, it's one of the main genres you read now as well, isn't it? Almost as much as fantasy, probably recently even more as well.
Yeah, probably. So another question from Jordan. Definitely looking forward to seeing your channel grow further. Thank you, Jordan. So are we. Which fantasy, sci-fi, historical fiction series do you each individually feel is most underappreciated? Great question.
Ooh.
Will, would you like to begin?
A lot spring to mind. I'd say Mike Shackle's We Are the Dead, definitely for fantasy. I think that is underappreciated. I think within the reviewer community, it's been really well received and everyone seems to love it, but beyond that I don't think it's got much of a wider audience, and I think it really deserves it. It's one of the best books I've read, and probably Adrian Selby as well. He's such a distinctive writer, and he's got so many, his ideas are crazy, aren't they, but they just add so much to the story. And he's another fantasy writer who some would call him grimdark, but he's kind of on the hinges of being grimdark, but there's a huge theme of hope. And yeah, I think they're two fantasy authors, and I'm thinking
Historical
Who
fiction,
else?
I would say
Yeah.
Robert Lowe, his Viking series of the Oathsworn is, to me, it's my favourite Norse series out there. You know, hitting the heights of Bernard Cornwell and Giles Christian, which is no mean feat whatsoever. Those books, they just encapsulate what it means to live in a Nordic world with those values and in those cultures. Just beautiful. Also, it's quite refreshing that it's not told. None of it happens in England, which you know, when you read 13 books of Bernard Cornwell, which is amazing, in England you can feel a little bit burned out. So this goes down to Miklagard in Constantinople,
Awesome.
and down into Africa and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, absolutely fantastic. That'd be my choice for historical fiction, Robert Lowe. Also, I would choose for fantasy, Adrian Selby is a good shout as well. I think his voice is he's got a great writing voice, and I think he's definitely underappreciated. Anna Smith-Spark as well, I would say.
Yeah.
Her prose is almost Cormac McCarthy-esque. It's beautiful and it's very harrowing. Her style of storytelling is so unique and different to many other books that I've read. It's fantastic, and they're basically character studies, her books, which I really like. There's not too much kind of battles, although there are lots of battles, but it's not as focused on that. It's focused more on kind of the characters and what happens to them, how they change through the series. So I'd definitely say, yeah, Anna Smith-Spark, Robert Lowe. I don't read too much sci-fi, to be honest. I've read Dune. I don't think that's underappreciated, to be honest. I've read Red Rising, that trilogy as well, and that's massive.
To the
isn't
biggest
it?
series.
Yeah, we're going to be reading Artifact Space soon, which by Christian Cameron, and I think Christian / Miles Cameron is hugely underappreciated. He should have a film or a TV deal for every single series that he does.
I mean, the Tom Swan novellas fit that perfectly. He even wrote it with the intention of it being quite episodic.
Indiana Jones, if only Indiana Jones had a sword. That's pretty much what it is. But, you know, I think, his sci-fi is going to be something special.
We actually had another question about the Oathsworn, which you just mentioned as underappreciated. Daniel, thank you. He said, I want to know which Oathsworn book was your favourite. Well, I have a confession. I have only read The Well Road, so I guess I'd have to say that. But I guess it's
still
more
a great choice.
I guess it's more directed towards Ed because it's one of your favourite series.
Yeah, I think The Well Road does such a good job of opening it up. It's quite short as well, but what The Well Road does that upsets me is kills off way too many characters that I think were just awesome. Which obviously I think it shows off the realism of the world. But you know, I got attached to them straight away, and I was like, no, to picture Darth Vader. I think my favourite one has to be The Proud Beast. You know, I was in tears for fear of what was happening right at, you know, in the first kind of 100 pages. Absolutely amazing storytelling, and the plot, the beats of that story are just done so well. I think that's, you know, Rob Lowe gets better with each book, and that is his pinnacle. And our next question from Stepan, thank you. Congratulations on 1,000 subs. Thanks you very much. I was wondering, how are you and fantasy behemoths as Wheel of Time, Malazan or Cosmere? Do you enjoy big worlds, or do you fancy rather smaller trilogies?
So I think if we start with the first one, I'm actually quite bad with the Behemoth. So obviously Lord of the Rings, love it. I've read the first instalment in the Stormlight archive, but I've not delved into actually, a few years ago I read the first 3 installments of Wheel of Time, but probably I was like 14, and I think it was a bit mind-boggling for me then. But I might return to that and Malazan. You recently started reading Malazan, didn't you?
Yeah, I read the first 2 books of Malazan. Number 1 I thought was really great. Number 2 kind of veered off in a direction that I wasn't really ready for. Obviously, I'm not really used to reading series that long. I read Bernard Cornwell's 13 books of the Saxon stories, but they don't really feel like it's a behemoth, to be honest. But fantasy, I haven't read Wheel of Time, and I haven't read Cosmere, to be honest. I have started Malazan, and I will go through with that. I'm not sure. I think there's just so many amazing books out there. But yeah, the behemoths, I'm just not kind of desperate to go and, you know, read Wheel of Time or the Cosmere or anything like that at the moment. That'll probably change in the future, but there's so many things, you know, because obviously we don't only read fantasy, so I feel like if I commit to a 14-book series, that doesn't, you know, that feels
That's
like
3 months
you need to read them all in one. You know, I'm not going to have room for anything else. So that's kind of, it's probably me being greedy, that I want to read as much non-fiction and literary fiction and western and historical fiction as well as the fantasy. So, you know, I will get around to them at some point. If people hound me enough, I'm sure I will.
And then going to the other question, it was about, do we prefer large worlds or small worlds? I think they're both really endearing in their own way, aren't they? I love large worlds such as Tolkien's Middle-earth that you can just immerse yourself in for weeks and months on end, and you'll always be learning new things. And I just adore that, and it just brings such a depth and richness to all the characters and their lives. But also, when it's quite small scale, I think that you can feel it's a lot more personal and intimate and more realistic, such as True Grit.
Yes.
It's small scale, but you absolutely love the characters, don't you? And I think that I don't really have a preference of one over the other. I think it's more that the stories of large worlds seem to be these behemoths, which is a huge commitment to go into. But I certainly will. But I think that I don't really lean either way. I just love both for different reasons.
Yeah, the style of storytelling I love is how Joe Abercrombie's done his first trilogy, then his 3 standalones, and the 3 standalones kind of set in different areas that we didn't see in the world of the first lore, the first trilogy. And I just love how he goes about that. You know, you discover more areas within that world, and you can kind of drop in, drop out whenever you want, not feeling like you need to get stuck into reading this one after the other if you really want to appreciate it. You know, I think it's done really, really well, and reading the books, they're just absolutely phenomenal too, so that really helps.
I can't wait to dive into first lore. I'm going to do it in June, I think.
Yeah, you will love it.
And our next question is from the awesome Abby, who's got a great book channel. She said, congratulations. Thanks, Abby. I'm so looking forward to watching the video of John Gwynne on Shadow of the Gods, which we're doing an interview of him. We have easy access, so it's a bit of a cheat code
It's
for
been
us.
really hard to, kind of find a contact to be able to get in touch with John Gwynne, but we managed it after months of
We've got him down.
Chipping away.
So the question was, what books growing up sparked your love of reading? I think instantly what comes to mind is, I remember, speaking of John Gwynne, Papa Gwynne, I remember him reading an illustrated edition of The Hobbit to me, and he would do all the accents, all the voices, and because he was so passionate about The Hobbit, it just fed into us, and it's such an amazing story, isn't it? And I just remember every night just so looking forward to the time where he'd read more of The Hobbit to me, and I think that's the book that just sparked it all, and I imagine that's the same with many people. You can't really get much of a better children's tale than The Hobbit that's also accessible to adults.
Yeah, and Dad bought me an amazing pop-up edition of The Hobbit, and I remember laying on his bed at night with Mum reading the newspaper in bed, and Dad was just reading The Hobbit to me. We were going through his pop-up book, and that was kind of the main one that definitely sparked my interest. Also, the Book of Three by Lloyd Alexander,
yeah,
fantastic. The Black Cauldron, Castle of Liar, those books are absolutely amazing. You know, An Oracular Pig, I loved it. I love companion animals. Exactly, that was beautiful. What else? I think obviously the Narnia books. Dad used to love reading them to me. I used to adore them.
Yeah, a lot of it we just owe it to Dad, don't we?
Oh yeah, and then Dad writing his own stories. We used to take the dogs for a walk in the evening, and he would tell me all the stories from the Silmarillion, and without me having to read them, because obviously I wouldn't be able to read them. I was like 5 or 6, and I remember being sucked into that world, and Dad made it so exciting for me. So I blame Dad. It's his maybe good tutoring, I guess.
Yeah.
Why we love fantasy so much. Another question here from the Library of a Viking. Great name, and Library of a Viking is a great chap. Which one of you is your dad's favourite?
Is he trying to spark a war here?
And why is it me?
Let's not say that.
Well, as being the oldest, I know him the best, so...
I think that we should move on and go to a different question now. Library of a Viking also asked quite a few others. So the first one was, are either of you currently writing a book?
Yes. I've had a few projects on the go over the last probably year and a half or so. I remember reading Christian Cameron doing his medieval series, and I decided to write a copy of that, which was really crap. So I've been that. And then I did a little bit of a kind of Viking murder mystery tale in Björka, which I will go back to eventually.
I enjoyed that.
Yeah, I read too many research books and didn't understand how to not have exposition, so that it was just full of me writing facts about Sleipnir and all this kind of stuff. So, but now I'm currently writing a Native American inspired fantasy tale, kind of with influence from the Sun and Blood Meridian, that kind of style of writing. So. This is my most serious effort at the moment, one that I'm really knuckling down on. I've written quite a few short stories in preparation, about 15, 16, and you're kind of studying other authors that I love, reading like Larry McMurtry and Joe Abercrombie, that kind of stuff, just trying to find my own voice. But it's so much fun coming up with new ideas. My phone is just riddled with so many different ideas for books. even though they're all probably not very good. But I just write them all down anyway. But I remember reading Stephen King's advice on writing his book, and he said never write down your ideas because it immortalizes the crap ones. So I was like, okay, I need to delete them then. And the ones that I remember are the ones that I need to go with. But you know, it's so much fun, and you know, I think I'm going to try and get Dan to tutor me with writing, so he can train me. But that is the goal one day.
I remember when I was about 12, I wrote probably 40,000 words, and it was basically Malice, but just in my own words.
You changed the names.
And I just changed the names basically, and the plot was.
Dad was reading it like,
"This is my book."
Yeah, I recognise this.
And it was basically just the exact same. I was so proud of myself, and then I realised that I don't think I even set out trying to copy it, but I was just like, oh, I like this word from Alice. I like this sentence.
No, even the first line was the same. Forest litter crunched underneath his feet.
Oh,
I read it. I was like, hang on a moment.
I recognise that.
Oh,
so I think that's the last large scale book that I've written. But I've also done quite a few short stories. And the next question from Library of Viking was, what are your top 3 must read books or series for fantasy readers? Ooh. Well, of course we can say Fantasy in the Fallen.
Yeah. Fantasy Fallen, Malice, Valor, Ruin.
Let me think.
Good question.
I think obviously The Hobbit and Lord of the Rings, one. Being Faith in the Fallen, another. Oh, so hard. There's so many. I would go with Robin Hobb. I would say Realm of the Elderlings, because that is just beauty in a book. I mean, if you don't want to commit too much, you can just read the trilogy. But if you are in for that wider commitment, there are 16 books in this world and 9 with fifth. So I think that having that flexibility and the malleable nature to your reading is something that I think all fantasy readers would love. And it's impossible not to just have Fitz and Night Eyes become 2 of your favourite characters.
I would have to say, number 1, Rage of Dragons. Go into that. It's so accessible to everyone, and it shows kind of the journey, the heart of fantasy. Number 2, The Blade itself. It shows that fantasy can actually be funny and dark and gritty and adult themes. Rage of Dragons does have adult themes, not to the level of Joe Abercrombie. So I'd read The Blade itself. And number 3, I would read Malice, because then you get the giant animals, the the companions, the friendship, and you get the epic scale. Rage of Dragons doesn't feel epic; it feels a kind of more. Although it's kind of more that intimate tale. The Blade itself is multi POV with quirky characters. That's where Joe Abercrombie's strength is, in my opinion. And then Malice is seeing kind of, it's a little bit obviously like Game of Thrones, that whole kind of multi point of view, different cultures within one world, that kind of thing, all vying for power. But I think it tells it in a much more accessible way, where you've got the heart of the story in there. So yeah, there'd be my 3: Rage of Dragons, Blade itself, Malice. Another question from Library of a Viking. Thank you very much for all the questions. Your favourite fantasy character?
Oh, that is nasty. Oh,
mean.
I mean, again, I instantly just get drawn to the Faith and the Fallen, obviously, because I've known these characters since I was like 6. All does tales to us, and Macwin is up there, but I'm trying to think of someone else.
I would say either Corban or Logan Ninefingers. I love Logan Ninefingers because by the end of book 3, you can hate him very easily. But yeah, he's one of my favourites. And Corban, a character I was growing up with, who I idolised, so must be one of those 2.
And I think I have to return to Fitz. Oh, you just love him so much. I mean, I think that Robin Hobb is an author, one of the few who actually delves really authentically into the psychology of characters, who they have fallibilities, but virtues and vices, and they're all shown. And it's not just, their actions aren't just streamlined so that it adheres to the plot. And Fitz just feels so real, and you love him so much, in my opinion, anyway. And another question from Library of a Viking: which book are you most excited to read in 2021?
Hawkwood Sword by Christian Cameron.
And I think The Blade itself, which I'm going to read in June.
Let's go on to the next question then, which is from Ambreen. Thank you. It's the zombie apocalypse. Pick your perfect team to survive. Also, congratulations. Thank you.
I think for the fun of it, I'd take Moog. Arcandius Moog with me.
Yes,
he might not actually help out a lot, but he would make sure that we don't fall into a deep pit of despair, I think. Also, Genghis Khan. I mean, if anyone can
Take the fight to the zombies, basically.
if-
You will make them regret ever dying.
They will run away.
Oh,
I mean,
that's brilliant.
if anyone can create an army, I think Genghis Khan could do that. If an apocalypse happened when the Mongol Empire was arising, Genghis Khan, it would have been easy for him, easy peasy. Who else would I bring? Macwin, again, that's going to be a name that always crops up in favourite characters or characters that you need to save you, because he is a force to be reckoned with, isn't he?
Yeah, I would have to choose Bayaz, because no one messes with Bayaz. From the Blade itself, the First Law. I would have to choose Kraf, because Kraf, a bit of light-hearted relief. Also, Kraf can, send messages to people. That'd be good, yeah.
That'd be nice.
I would love to have Camlin, because Camlin is kind of, he's good at setting traps.
Yeah.
Good with a bow and that kind of stuff. He's kind of thinks outside the box.
Yeah.
And also, I'd have to have someone like Druss, someone who's pretty old, done it all. If
you just leave him in a
to
path.
the skill of Logan, but he's not going to flip out and kill you. And Druss, he doesn't mind sacrificing himself, I don't think.
No,
so,
he doesn't.
yeah, I'd definitely choose Druss from David Gemmell's Legend.
Yeah, thanks for that question. Now on to the next one, which is from Tyra. She said,
sorry if we're butchering anyone's names.
I'm really sorry. I'm just saying how it comes.
Yeah, please send us abuse in the comments if
we are doing it wrong. Yeah, correct us, please. So she said, congrats, well deserved. Thank you so much.
You.
I love watching your guys' content. If you could live in a fantasy world, maybe barring the Banished Lands, okay, to make it harder, which would it be? So here's the thing. You can go into ones that are really rich, like Game of Thrones, but you're going to die pretty quickly, aren't you? I think I would plump myself into the Shire. Middle-earth.
Yeah, that
would be awesome, wouldn't it?
That is the only choice, really. I've been obsessed with Hobbits since I was, a wee lad. And I just love the Shire. I love it. Well, but they always dress up as Bilbo.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's quite a general response. But, I mean, the
so
Shire...
Beautiful,
is there any other fantasy book where there's actually a happy place? No. Other than The Reckoning of the Shire, that it's always a happy place.
I like Name of the Wind and Masters and Majors by Christian Cameron and Patrick Rothfuss.
Yeah.
But with the universities, I like the kind of civilization there. And on to the next question by the awesome Petrick Leo of Novel Notions. Go check out Petrick's book channel, absolutely fantastic. Yeah. Who won in a duel of sword and axe? I need proof, not just words. Well, Petrick, funny you should Oh, okay, fair enough.
Hey,
we will have video evidence soon, I do promise. Once William has his exams over and done with, we're going to fight to the death to see who...
That's as good a way to celebrate the exams being over as anything, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, end on a high, really, don't you?
That is something Brom would say from Game of Thrones, absolutely. Do your exams, then fight to the death. But yeah, no, we will do maybe a bit of a duel very soon, Petrick. We're sure you can come and join us very soon as well. We have a shield ready for you.
Now on to the next question, which is from Philip Chase, who is another fantastic booktuber.
Yes,
I'm always so interested with his
the
videos.
nicest blazers too.
I know, isn't it? So well dressed, and he makes me think so much, and it's so engaging, and it's just he's very different style of book channel, which I just love so much. And his question was, he said, congratulations, thanks Philip.
Thank you, Philip.
Well earned, and I'm sure there'll be many more milestones. We really do hope so. My question, do either or both of you have writing aspirations? And if you do, what sort of writing would you like to do? So we had a question a bit similar to this earlier where we talked about how we're both plagiarists. But I think that is definitely something that I would love to do. I mean, I've written quite a few short stories and I do have quite a few ideas jotted down. Some are fantasy ideas and some are dystopian fiction, actually, which is weird because I haven't really read any dystopian fiction. Yeah. But I'd love to delve into that. But also historical fiction. Last year I wrote a short story and entered it into a competition about the Highlander Regiment during the American Revolution, and that I found that really interesting, combating how the Highlander Regiment were kind of fractured and put away from the main British troops, and they were treated terribly, really. And it is that idea of British superiority, and I really like engaging with social issues like that. So it's definitely something that at the time I really just don't have time to delve into. It's the enemy, isn't it? But I would love to, maybe this summer, to do a bit more of that. And Ed, of course, as he said.
William, let's not shoot yourself down, because William actually has a published work of... there's this thing in the UK, for those of you that don't live in the UK, called the BBC Two 500 Words competition for teenagers to submit their entries of a short story, and William wrote a 500-word story about going back in time through an accidental portal and saving Harold Godwinson at the Battle of Hastings. And it was published, and William got down to the final 25 children in his age category, and he went and met Charles Dance, Jeremy Irons,
Kenneth Branagh,
Sir Kenneth Branagh, Camilla,
Royal Highness,
and many more people of to high critical and social acclaim.
I think that's still just the thing that I was just still so surprised at. I was like, what?
Oh, it was brilliant though, and maybe we can put a link in the description below if anyone wants to go and listen to the story. But it was awesome. I, as a teacher, I show my children that story every year or so in each different class, to try and inspire them to write their own 500-word story. So yeah, it was great, and Will's a really talented writer.
Oh, thanks, Ed. That was 13-year-old me.
You can pay me later. And my love is fantasy and historical fiction, so I've kind of got some ideas ticking over with fantasy. I'd also like to write historical fiction in a Western setting, kind of splitting POVs between one kind of from a child growing up in Tennessee, moving down to Texas, and then another point of view in a Comanche warband, that kind of thing, and how different and how similar their lives actually are at the end of the day. You know, I'm kind of would like to explore the contrasts of that. But yeah,
really
writing is just so much fun, and reading, just when you read a good book, it inspires you to go write. So
yeah. So thanks for that question, Philip. It's definitely something that obviously we're both really interested in.
Thank you, Mr. Chase. On to the next question then, from the awesome Niels as well. Thank you very much, Niels. Congratulations, both of you. Thank you with all my heart. My question would be either which is your favourite book from the Faith and the Fallen series and why, or which has been your favourite book of 2021 so far? Oh, I would love to answer both of them. Thank you, Niels.
Oh, that is so hard. I love every book in the Faith and the Fallen for different reasons. I mean, it could be Malice because we spent so many years talking about that. But I think I'd have to go with Ruin. I mean, my favourite character, Mac, when he really experiences such growth in this book. And also, it has the best duel of all time. Oh my word, you can't beat it, can you? And The Running Man, it's probably the only book where I've stood up and just pumped my fist into the air. And I've been so scared because he's so nasty. He's so nasty to our favourite characters.
Yeah,
I mean, he will ask us, who's your favourite character? And we've learnt to lie.
Yeah,
because if we say
he has the red pen, he's like,
they will be chopped,
murdered. And my favourite from the Faith and the Fallen has to be Malice. I love all of them almost equally, but Malice is kind of like the Fellowship of the Ring, the Shire for me.
Nostalgia.
Yeah, you've spent so much time there, and they're happy. It's the only time anyone ever smiles in the Faith and the Fallen. So
yeah,
I think it's once they smile in Valor, but yeah. So I absolutely love Faith and the Fallen, where you're introduced to the characters and you meet them in their usual settings, their natural habitats for the first time. On to favourite reads of 2021 so far.
And we've actually put out a video about what our top 5 reads each for 2021 are. So if you're interested about that, do check it out. It's just the reads that we've had up to April.
Yep.
Oh, that's so hard. I mean, I think Kings of the Wild, it was so brilliant. I think that what was so amazing about it is it has such humour, but such depth and emotion to it as well, and some of the best characters. Arcandius Mooka, I've already mentioned, Clay Cooper, Gabriel, Ganelon, Matrick. They're all just, the whole group that Saga are amazing.
Yeah, great choice, Will. I think if I had to really choose, it's incredibly hard, but I would have to say Tom Swan by Christian Cameron. His set of 6 or 7 novellas, the second lot, The Siege of Belgrade, fantastic. I love the historical setting, 15th century Europe. Italy's beautifully written by Christian, and the character Tom Swan is just one of my favourites ever. He's so much fun, he's quite daring, and he's just he really grows in this set of novellas. And on to the next question. So to Neil Glaser, thank you. Authors I think neither of you have read. Excellent, we love hearing other suggestions. Roger Zelazny, Jack Chalker, Piers Anthony and Edgar Rice Burroughs. You are indeed correct.
Yeah, you're
Neil,
very right.
We have not read any of those.
I've heard of.
If I can't say the name, I definitely haven't read them. But thank you, Neil. I will definitely go and check them out for sure and add them to my Goodreads pile. The mountain that is growing over very quickly. But thank you very much, Neil.
Yeah, thanks for that. And the next question we have is from Vicky, who said, if you could combine different characters and worlds from different genres to make a new series, what characters and worlds would they be?
Oh, great.
Oh my word. So what I instantly just thought of is I'd love to see Derval from the Warlord Chronicles. Who
I was
would I
thinking
like to see
Finnan.
him with?
Oh, yeah,
Imagine
yeah,
Derval. Oh my word. Oh, this is so hard.
Okay.
Just merge all Bernard Cornwell's characters together.
Okay, Logan Ninefingers
Mm-hmm.
set in.
Yeah, what world are we going for?
Imagine him with Conan. Oh, Logan and Conan, long lost brothers. That would be so cool.
And
I would love
Derval to
that.
be kind of the bedrock of
I
we
wouldn't.
should do
No,
the
you
right
don't
thing.
want Derval to meet Logan. No, honestly, mate, you don't. It's not going to
What?
be a good meeting.
They'd be friends.
Logan and Conan, I think, would get along really well. I don't think Derval would get along well.
Would
with
he be
them,
a bit
to
out
honest.
of place?
It would be really out of place. He'd feel very sad. Okay, and we don't want Derval to feel sad ever. I would love Merlin to be in the First Law and meet Bayaz.
Oh.
That was so much fun. Imagine Storm in. Oh no, because humans aren't nice, so they use animals, don't they? Like King Kong. No, Storm can.
King
stay
Kong
in
is the
corporate.
first. I think when Ed watched it at the cinema, I've been told this story many times. Is
Peter Jackson.
when King Kong is at the top of the building.
No, don't. Please don't. I'll actually cry.
So he's shouting it, and Ed in the cinema was like, "Oh, these planes are going to get it." And Dad said that he was sat next to him, and he thought, "Oh no." And after the film ends, and I think we all know what happens. Ed apparently was just silent, and he basically didn't leave his room for.
No, I didn't. He didn't eat for a few days, and I blamed Dad. I blamed King Kong's death on Dad and Jack Black. I didn't watch School of Rock for about 4 or 5 years. I've only just been able to kind of get to grips with it that he's a different character. But yeah, I blamed Dad for at least a week. I didn't talk to him, and I didn't shout at him, didn't scream or anything. I wasn't vocal in my hatred, but I was.
It was the emission of sound.
It really hit me hard. It hit me. Another time that almost hit me as hard was at Lord of the Rings. Frodo gets stung by Shelob, and I just sat there weeping. I was like, he's dead. I was so upset, and I love Frodo. Frodo's always been my favourite. And I just, it just hit me so hard in the cinema. I couldn't even see the rescue, and Dad was just like, you can't watch the end because if you're crying now.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I think I was like that with the final Hobbit, the Battle of the Five Armies. I think part of it was...
It was on your birthday. It
was on my
at Christmas Eve.
I've never cried so much. I think it was part of
We're in the car.
It was just that it was over, and Billy Boy's song, oh my word, The Last Goodbye, and I was just like... I was sobbing, and...
I've not seen you weep like that for a very long time.
Word. Spartacus as well. When Dad introduced me to Spartacus,
Crassus.
I hate that man, and I was sobbing. I think I actually cried myself to sleep. And Dad, he said he felt sorry for me, but he was like smiling. He's like, I'm proud that he's crying.
Yeah.
And I was like, why?
I think he's proud of himself what he's done to you.
Yeah, he loves inflicting tears on us through
and his
through
books
just
as
killing
well.
characters.
So yeah, that definitely makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah, that question really made us laugh, so thanks for that, Vicky. Our next question is from Slavic Reader. Love the name. Thank you for the question.
Thank you.
Will you guys ever show us your entire physical book collection? I don't mean like a bookshelf personal library tour, because that can take hours to make an edit. Yeah, that would take a long, long time. Just want to see your books, maybe hear about some of your treasured editions, etc. This is actually a video that we were talking that we really want to make.
Yeah, we
will do a dedicated video at some point in the coming months, talking about our favourite valued special editions that we just covet above everything else.
Yeah, so if you guys want to watch the 6-hour video, then brilliant.
Yeah, that is coming your way.
And another question from Jonathan. Thank you very much. What is your favourite thing about fantasy, and is there anything lacking from the genre that you wish more authors and filmmakers would tackle? Oh, okay. Good question. I love the animals. You can make everything big, can't you? Wolves. Read an Adrian Tchaikovsky book. Oh, ants. They're massive. All this kind of stuff. So I love that about fantasy. I love that you can kind of pick and choose cultures and combine them, but also create your own rules. I think fantasy, it's so open, and that's what I love about it. It really is open world. It's a massive sandbox. And that is what I love about fantasy. You can have these sweeping, great big armies with, dragons. Oh, if you love dragons, come on. Giant wolves, talking crows, just amazing stuff. I think I've loved fantasy lately where they're really grounded, and it's quite low fantasy, like Joe Abercrombie, Adrian Selby, really grounded with the characters, which I love. And I really want filmmakers to tackle things like that, or kind of, you know, these sweeping stories similar to like The Revenant, kind of a character study, but in these breathtaking environments with amazing bristling wildlife and different cultures. Tackle something like that, but in a fantasy setting. And filmmakers, go make something that isn't Game of Thrones. You know, Game of Thrones is great, but there's so many other worlds out there. You know, Kings of the World, that would be the greatest. I think that would be the greatest, the most popular fantasy you know, TV show ever. That would be an amazing TV show. So much fun, so accessible, and people would love it. You know, seeing Joe Abercrombie's characters on screen would be amazing as well. Yeah,
I'd say that my favourite thing about fantasy is kind of along the lines of what you're saying. The saying really is true when it says that the imagination is your limit. That really is it with fantasy. You can do what you want, and I think it just gives authors such a freedom to do what they think will reach the means to their goal and what they're trying to create. And I think that's beautiful. You can have things from fits and grounded with the characters to all the long scale to the epic scale of Lord of the Rings and Game of Thrones.
And it's so hard to have that in like a historical fiction series.
It is really hard, because you are... historical fiction is kind of awesome, limited, but I think that you are limited in a way, and I think a lot of authors fret that they do have to stay within the confines of the authenticity. Now, what would I like to see more in the genre for filmmakers? I think that... I was talking earlier a bit about the psychology of characters. And I think that a film like Logan, onward, all the characters, they do what their characterization determines for them. It's not about plot. And I think that that's probably the only film I have ever watched where you can say that is true the entire time. I mean, there's so much subtext. Every single time I watch it, I notice different things about what is being left unsaid. I feel that's more powerful. And I think that I'd love to see that more in fantasy books. Definitely see it within Robin Hobb's Realm of the Eldlings works. As I was saying, Fitz just does feel so real, and that's something I really wish that authors would explore, because characters are what I love to read about. They're what I love to see at the heart of a story. Books can be great if they're engaging with wider concepts and they're focusing more on that, but for me, I feel most compelled when you're attached to a character.
Yeah, and definitely, you know, something I'd like to see in fantasy, which obviously I haven't read every fantasy book out there, and my mission this year is to do this, but to read more setting around different cultures rather than, you know, kind of classic Western medieval cultures, which I love. You know, I do medieval reenactment. I have such an appreciation for it, but seeing something that, you know, kind of embeds other historical cultures, such as She Who Became the Sun. I'm so excited to read that. The Poppy War as well. I'd love to read something set, you know, kind of in the Americas. I just read Black Sun by Rebecca Roanhorse, which was fantastic, and seeing those cultures just felt so fresh. And I would love to see more of that in fantasy, which I think that is the way fantasy is going at the moment. So, you know, and I'm looking forward to reading so much more this year.
Our next question is from Alice. Thanks for submitting a question, Alice. It was, will you guys start making vlogs when reenactment events start up again, or videos explaining what kit you have and how you use it? Congratulations on 1K. Thanks, Alice.
Yes, we will. Is the short answer. When clubs start up again, we'd love to do some vlogs about our reenactment groups. That we're part of a medieval group who train every Monday. And also a Viking group that train every other Sunday on the Downs.
Yeah, so we look forward to talking about that.
Yeah, absolutely. And once Williams finishes his exams, going into June, we'll have lots of stuff outdoors, going around showing you off the horse a bit more and showing off, you know, a bit of the equipment that we have and inspiration, stuff that you might see in fantasy books and films and stuff like that.
And next question, we have quite a short one from Leah, and it is, when will Ed read The Fires of Vengeance? Well, guess what?
Read it. And the next question is from Dave Dallasman. Sorry if I'm saying that wrong. What are your top recommendations for Viking or Viking-inspired fantasy and historical fiction? Oh, beautiful question. Giles Christian for historical fiction.
Robert Lowe
for historical fiction. Bernard Cornwell, obviously. I would say Shadow of the Gods for fantasy.
Yeah, because, coming out in a few weeks.
Papa Gwynne's new book coming out. Honestly, if you like anything to do with Vikings, you'll be obsessed with it. It's phenomenal. I'd also say...
I'm looking around just the room trying to see...
Something along the lines of The Gospel of Loki by Joanna
I'm
Harris.
listening to that at the moment.
And Neil Gaiman's Norse mythology, if you want kind of an overview of the gods. But yeah, they're great.
And now we're reaching to the last few questions now, and one of them is from Connor. Thanks for submitting a question, Connor. So he said, how does Ed balance reading so much and being a primary teacher? As an NQT, I'm perplexed. Well, I mean...
Connor, in NQT, you know, you can do it. Honestly... That is the moral. You can get through this year. It is tough, and I've been there. I had a placement before my NQT year, and it was so tough, but the support network in school was amazing. And once you get to grips with just being yourself as a teacher, and you know, just doing your best each time, the better you know your class, the easier you will find it. You know, the better your relationships with your class are. You know, once they're less feral as of September, and you kind of set those ground rules. And you know, I do all my work at school. I don't bring anything home. My head teacher, that was his first piece of advice for me when I first got my job last September. And he used to come into my class and say, "Come on then, go home now. You've done enough today." So it's really great to have someone so supportive. You know, I would usually kind of stay really late at school and just get all my work done, so I don't have to take anything home. And then when I get home, my mind just feels kind of a bit more cleared. And after the first year, it's so much easier. And you know, after doing online teaching, I feel like I could do anything now, and I just feel like a new man, you know, kind of a new lease of life. So the more, you know, Connor, you can do it, and we're well done. It's such a fun profession. I hope you're enjoying it. If you ever have any more questions, let me know. But yeah, keep reading. Use reading as an example with your kids in school as well. I'm always trying to read them, you know, a bit of Neil Gaiman, that kind of stuff. You know, something that you like, that you're passionate about as well. Whether it's just for a bit of guided reading here, that kind of thing. But yeah, you can do it.
So now we're reaching our final question, and I've just had a skim read of it, and I think it's the hardest question.
Oh no!
If you
It's
had
gonna be like your favourite book ever.
If you had one favourite book, what would it be? So thank you, Ashley, for that.
For the cruel
brain
question,
boggler.
Ashley.
Oh no!
Malice.
Ruin.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's got to be Malice for me. If I'd choose something that wasn't Dad's book, it would be Blood Meridian. But yeah, Malice.
I think if it wasn't Ruin for me, what would it be? I think Assassin's Quest.
Not Silmarillion.
Oh, Silmarillion! Oh my
I had to
word.
say that. Sorry.
I would cheat and bring all three, but Assassin's Quest and the Silmarillion, I can't choose between the two. Oh my word! I'm taking this so seriously. Oh my, I feel like I'm insulting all the other books if I don't.
Ashley, you've broken him. You've done what I couldn't do all these years. Thank you everyone so much for these questions. It's been so much fun actually.
Yeah, really great fun.
Talking about all this kind of stuff. You know, thank you for having the questions for us as well. We didn't really think we'd have too many, or people would be too interested with hearing about us.
No.
But, you know, great questions, a great community. Thank you everyone so much. And we will see you all very soon. Stay safe.
Yeah, we're really happy just hit 1,000 subscribers, and we really enjoyed this Q&A. So thank you. We hope you enjoy our future content. Bye for now. Stay safe. Truth and courage. The Brothers Gwynne.